guys, it's Denise from Foursquare Market Farm. Happy holidays, or at least I'm hoping by the time I actually get this video uploaded, it'll still be the holidays. I had a video planned for the December pattern of the month, and I made a merino angora blend, or I should call it an angora merino blend, based off of the yarn that was recommended for the Angora Tam, which is a Lion brand free pattern. And after I had spun it up, I didn't like it. I definitely didn't like it for the pattern. And so I kind of abandoned that. And with the hustle and bustle of the month of December, I didn't really get another pattern in for that. But here's what I did do. I made some scarves. And I thought about vlogging for the Vlogmas that's going on for the month of December. But really, I'm not really like a just kind of chat about stuff, my life kind of thing. I was kind of a boring life. And so I really couldn't see how I could make that series of videos just for Christmas. I'm kind of a project-focused vlogger, or whatever you might have. So that's kind of how it works here. So if I'm not cranking out a particular project and I want to share how it's done, then I don't really do a lot of video making. I don't know. You got to tell me how you feel about that. I know a lot of people like to watch the blogs where people are on every week just kind of chatting about their stuff, but it's not really my flavor. So anyway, I kind of have to have something in particular in mind, and that's basically how I work. I have a project in mind almost every time I work, and that's what I film. Okay, so at any rate, I decided that I was going to do a little stash busting. I was never one of those people who just bought yarn and had large stashes of stuff. I'm not sure how to say this without sounding strange. I'm not a fiberholic to that kind of degree. I'm not like a yarn lover like that. I don't just buy yarn because I see it and I love it. I'm very very goal directed. So I buy things or I do things specifically to make something. So I'll see something and go, oh, I want to make that. Then I go get stuff for it and I make it immediately. And so what I find is I don't have a lot of half-done things lying around. Now, if you are a person who just sees yarn, you buy it, you're like, this is great, I don't want you to feel guilty. Or if you buy stuff because, oh, I'm going to make that someday, don't feel guilty. That's just the way you operate, and I'm okay with that. But that's not really the way I operate. Unless I know right at that moment where I'm driven that this is something I'm going to do, I don't buy anything because I plan on doing it. I buy it because this is what I'm doing right now. So in that case, I don't have a yarn stash because in general, I spend for particular projects. I buy fiber for particular projects. I make yarn for particular projects. And prior to spinning, I only bought yarn for particular projects. So I never kept a bunch of yarn anywhere. So the only stash I had was when I spun for particular projects and had leftovers, or when I was spinning for breed studies and I had that yarn, which I didn't turn into anything for the first couple breed studies. So basically, what I have is scrap yarn left over. Now, this one down here, this is actually a Peruvian wool from Knit Picks, and I bought it to dye, the bear skeins to dye for my Etsy store because it seemed like a good idea at the time. So I sold 2 of the skeins, and I still had these 2 guys, and I got tired of looking at them, and so I decided I was going to go ahead and use them. Now, the warp is a variegated purple and red, and this is I can't remember what the red is, but the purple is Jacquard's periwinkle. And the weft is actually Jacquard's periwinkle. So I dip dyed the red and the purple, and then with the leftover dye from the purple, I dip dyed the weft. So they are actually the same dye. And I left periwinkle because it's just one of those dyes that breaks, and you get these wonderful lavender, dark and light lavender colors from it. So that's how that went. So this was actually a whole skein. Um, it was one skein of, I think it's like 400 or something is in the skein. I broke it into two 220 yard skeins, and that's one skein. So I like the way that worked up. And it's funny because I didn't like the individual yarns. I didn't like the way the variegation turned out when I was done with it. And I really did like the lilac, lavender, however you want to say it. I like that, but I didn't like this warp, so that's why I made it the warp and not the weft. Now, they complement each other when they're actually woven. It's funny how that works with woven garments. Now these two, both the brown and the gray, are leftovers. So I didn't have enough for any one particular project. And this one right here is leftover from the gray, black, and white prayer shawl I made maybe a year and a half ago or so. And it has two different shades of gray. There's a gray and a silver gray. And it has three different whites. And they're two different thicknesses from two different projects. So if you can see this thicker white right here, and then this thinner one here. And those are basically probably no more than 20 or 30 yards each for the weft. And this one right here is some miscellaneous whites. Sometimes some of the, like I said, they're not the same white. And then there's a fawn, dark fawn, and a brown, which may have actually been a rose gray. Sorry about the lighting, but my spot lamp just went out on me. And with this winter, it keeps shifting light. Okay, so at any rate, this is left over from the Rose Path scarf I wove for my brother last Christmas. And so, just totally different. What I thought was interesting, though, is how I knot the fringes normally before I wash, but I don't necessarily do the ends because I actually found that I get less tangling. And I really don't know what I'm going to do with the ends a lot of times until I give the piece away or sell it or whatnot. And so the fibers that are the fawn and the white and the gray, or white and the brown, are actually a lot softer than the fibers from the grays, from the gray and the silver gray. So if you notice here, I got a lot more unplying down here on the brown than I did with the silver. And it just depends. Sometimes there's almost no fraying down here. Depends on what yarn I'm using, how hard the twist was for that yarn, how, of course, how hard or soft that particular yarn is. You see down here. But this right here, basically, just unraveled all the way for all of these right here. So it was a softer yarn. So I'm going to put the gray and this purple one in my Etsy store as soon as I iron them out and finish them completely. The brown, however, I don't know what happened. Well, I was watching TV or watching some video, and I allowed too much draw in on the edge here, which I normally don't do, but I kind of messed that one up. And so, I don't know, maybe I'll give this to my niece or turn it into a bag. We'll see. Okay, so anyway, that's what happened with the month of December. So in the meantime, the Ply magazine came, and I was thrilled because I've been pretty much nervously awaiting this issue since June, and I kind of hinted at that. And I'm really thrilled. I just was very honored for the opportunity to write for the magazine, and I'm just really impressed with this particular magazine. Now, first of all, I love socks, of course. I love, 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 love socks. So I got an entire magazine full of wonderful articles about socks, and I am on page 100, 101. So if you are not a subscriber to Ply Magazine, you should really have a look at this, especially this in particular, of course. It's a wonderful magazine. It's a beautiful layout. The articles are incredible, and I know I certainly enjoyed it. So go have a look at that. Now, I had planned for the rest of the month of December to just relax because it's been absolutely crazy for the past couple months. Foursquare Microfarm, well, there's a couple reasons why it's called Foursquare. And I think I explained this a couple of videos back. The original name Foursquare has to do with the actual structure I live in. This property was an orchard way back, start in the 1900s. And they split the property up some time ago. And the house is a four-square house, meaning that it is basically a square. All sides are equal. And the layout is a very square layout. All the rooms are laid out in a square pattern. So it's called a four-square house. If you take a Google journey, type in four-square houses, and you'll see the pattern that's laid out for a typical four-square house. Also, I tend to garden in a four-square arrangement. You can also give that a Google, and it'll show you what four-square gardening is like. So that's kind of how the Foursquare Microfarm got its name and the basic four principles. There's also like four different sides to the microfarm. And besides the fiber and fabric, which is the TLC Fibercraft. Also, there's the Rush Hour Rabbitry and the Sabian German Shepherd. So the dogs and the rabbits are part of the microfarm. And I do paper crafts. So the month of December was filled with paper crafts. I made about 200 plus cards and ornaments, all kind of really odd things. And then the light bulb crafts that went along with the ornaments. And so it's just been crazy. Now, I don't make videos on my paper crafts, mostly because there are other card makers and they make pretty awesome videos. And so I don't really feel any need yet to make videos about the paper crafts. But I know there are people, if you've ever gotten anything from my Etsy store, the things that you get from the Etsy store are always accompanied by some type of thank you card. And so that's basically what the paper crafting is about. That was the original intent of it, was to actually to have thank you cards for my handmade items. Okay, so a lot of that went on. Oh my goodness. And I don't want to say I'm sick of Christmas cards, but I've kind of had my fill of Christmas cards this season, making cards for that. Okay, so the plan was to take the month of December off, well, the rest of the month anyway. And I decided to do some planning. So now that my stash is gone, and I'm doing a little focusing on what I really want out of this blog and videos for 2019. I kind of started the videos They were just meant for one particular person in order to teach them some fiber crafts. But now it's kind of changed. And so I really want to streamline this. I want to make it something that makes sense to other people, something that they find useful. And so I'm really working on some topics that are important to my community out there. So I got my topic list. And so I've been doing a lot of planning. It's the teacher in me. The teacher in me makes these plans. So I have this binder and I've got all this exciting stuff inside the binder. And I really want to get things planned. And also, too, if you've ever had a hobby that I don't want to say try to turn into a business, because I keep saying I don't want to run a business. It's a lot more complicated than just selling your stuff when you're running a business. You kind of have to have a business mind. I really don't have the best business mind. I'm not really like a flighty, artsy type person, but I'm also really not like a business person. I'm somewhere in the middle. So it's a really hard thing for me. But if I'm going to sell things, which I'm obviously doing, because I keep saying I'm not selling, but I am selling. So if I'm going to sell things, I need to streamline my process, make it smoother so I'm not losing money in the actual sales. So I really have to plan this out carefully. What it is that I want, I can't just make everything. I have to kind of focus on what's important, what's more efficient, what's economical, all that kind of stuff. So it's really important, and how to fit all that in there. So that was supposed to be my focus for the month, but I got sidetracked, and let me show you why. Now, my sheep herding instructor, of course, the woman who started this all with those lovely Cheviot sheep running around, gave me a lot, like 40 fleeces worth of Cheviot wool. And so I made some mittens for her, of course, because I made mittens for her. Like, that just seems like the thing to do when someone gives you 40 fleeces. And so, it occurred to us the other day while we were talking that it'd be nice to have some fleece for her in the barn, or something made from her fleece, so that she could offer to the others that come for herding lessons. And so I decided I was going to go ahead and knit up some mittens. And this is the raw Cheviot wool I'm working with. She sees the wool because they're on her sheep. But a lot of times, if you're not a fiber artist, or if you are not a fiber artist that works with raw wool, you don't really see how this stuff is in the raw. Okay? As my mother says, it's more than a notion. And so here it is, like this. And 90% of the time, when I am telling you about something I'm making, I'm starting from this stuff, like the stinky stuff right off the sheep, filled with hay and other stuff. And my herding instructor doesn't exactly raise animals for fiber. So they're not coated or anything like that. So, I'm really getting, as they say, the raw deal. That's how they got that phrase, I assume. At any rate, so I have this, and I would say through the magic of television, but no, actually through a lot of hard work, I turned that into this. And so my goal now, instead of relaxing for the month of December, like that was really going to happen, is to spin this up, and I'm going to make some mittens. And this time I'm going to spin everything up, make the mittens, and dye them after into several colors. I think that'll be best for me to do it that way. Hopefully I'll have some pictures for you by the 1st of January. And I've decided I'm going to use the tin can knits mitten pattern, because I almost always make fingerless gloves. I can make those like just with my eyes closed, but I don't make mittens a lot. So I have a really hard time rounding the edges of my mittens, because I get to about this part and I'm like, oh no, I've got to close it. And when you follow the pattern to close it, I know me, I don't when I follow the pattern to close it, it turns out fine. When I'm closing it myself, I tend to take too many stitches off, and so I get this pointy, like penguin fingers. And also, somewhere along the line, when it comes to closing the thumb, I lose my mind. And so I have a problem here. And so since I'm going to close a mitten, I'm just going to go ahead and use the pattern. And the Tin Can Knits is a really easy pattern for mittens. Tin Can Knits, if you haven't used any of their patterns on Ravelry, has some wonderful, easy beginner patterns for free for, there's the hat, the scarf, the sweater. So go ahead and give that a try. It's spelled just the way it sounds, Tin Can Knits. Wonderful site. Okay, so anyway, that's it for the month of December. I have some things planned for 2019, and I can't wait to share. And I'm hopefully, with input from my subscribers, I can make videos that are more of what you need. So please, in the comments, feel free to ask questions and make suggestions. I love suggestions. I love getting ideas from other people. And helping people. I know when I started spinning, there wasn't all these videos or bloggers or all this kind of stuff going on, and it would have been nice to have had someone to ask questions to. And I did find the Facebook groups, and they were wonderful, but I know sometimes you need to see like it in action. And so just let me know if you have any questions or you just want to chat about fiber. I want to do a fiber blog and vlog hop at some point soon, and a garden hop for this spring. So if you're interested in that, also you can let me know. Drop me a line on Facebook or on Instagram. Make a comment, and I'd be more than happy to get that together so that we can take a peek at each other's videos and gardens. Okay, everybody, have a Merry Christmas, a happy winter, and a blessed new year. Thanks a lot.